Welcome to Security Thursday Leadership in Digital Sovereignty. This is not just about security, controls, or frameworks. It's about responsibility, clarity, and the decisions that shape how secure an organization really is.
Exactly.
So picture your company's IT environment right now, for just a second.
Right. Yeah.
You probably have like a dozen state-of-the-art security tools, millions of dollars invested, and these dedicated teams monitoring them all day.
Well, absolutely.
And yet, despite all of that capital and talent, an attacker can still literally walk right through the front door.
Yeah. Happens all the time.
Because, well, none of those incredibly expensive tools are actually talking to each other. So
Hmm.
today we're doing a deep dive into the work of Stephen A. Davis, specifically his philosophy on Unified Threat Management, or UTM.
Right. Which is such a crucial topic right now.
It really is. Our mission today is to explore why consolidating your security architecture is, fundamentally a test of leadership. It's not just a line item on an IT procurement budget.
No, not at all. And I think the core problem we are facing in modern enterprise environments is almost never a lack of technology.
Right.
I mean, we're drowning in technology. The real vulnerability, the thing that actually gets companies breached, is the paralyzing complexity of fragmented architectures.
Yeah, we just buy too much stuff.
Exactly. We've built these environments by, buying a top-tier firewall from one vendor, an incredibly expensive antivirus suite from another, and then we set up a separate VPN for remote workers.
Piling it on,
Right, and then dropping in an isolated intrusion detection system just to cap it off.
which creates what Davis calls security islands.
Yes, security islands. That's the perfect term for it.
You end up with like 5 different dashboards, all flashing red.
Yeah.
None of them share telemetry. They don't share context. And the poor security analyst sitting in the middle of the SOC, the Security Operations Center, has to somehow play detective.
It's totally unfair to the analyst.
It is. They have to figure out if these alerts are part of a coordinated attack or just, random background noise.
And that is the baseline reality of corporate networks today. I mean, they are entirely open.
Yeah.
The old medieval castle analogy, a walled-off corporate fortress with a single drawbridge well, that is completely dead.
Long dead, yeah.
Today, your systems are constantly connected to cloud infrastructure, to third-party vendors, to APIs. You have remote employees logging in from unsecured Wi-Fi networks halfway around the world.
Oh, at coffee shops, airports, everywhere.
Exactly. The threats are continuous, they are automated, and they absolutely do not wait for you to patch your software.
No, they don't. And in response to this, organizations they panic.
They do.
Their reflexive response is to go out and buy more software, falsely equating the sheer quantity of specialized tools with the quality of their defense.
Which is such a dangerous assumption.
I was reading through the source material, and there's a detail that just blew my mind regarding these security islands.
Oh, the reporting part.
Yes. Davis mentions organizations where the security reporting from an isolated system literally consists of getting a static PDF report sent via email to an administrator.
I mean, it's wild. A static PDF.
Yeah.
In a world where automated attacks execute data exfiltration in milliseconds.
It's absurd. I mean, the source material includes a quote from a CIO that perfectly encapsulates the dread of this situation.
Right.
The CIO said, "When something happens, it takes too long to find out where it happened."
And that delay, that 20-minute delay, is the defining tragedy of a fragmented architecture.
Yeah, for sure.
Because in cybersecurity, delay equals risk.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the time it takes for a human analyst to open that emailed PDF.
Assuming they even see the email right away.
Exactly. They open it, realize there's an anomaly, cross-reference the IP address with a completely separate firewall dashboard, and then manually check the VPN logs to see who was logged in.
Which takes forever.
Right, and that is the exact window attackers exploit to drain your database.
Let's ground this in a different industry, because I think the IT jargon can get overwhelming.
Good idea.
Imagine the air traffic control system at a major international airport. You have United Airlines arriving, Delta departing, and a dozen private jets in the holding pattern.
Right.
But in this specific control tower, the radar system tracking United doesn't communicate with the radar system tracking Delta.
That sounds terrifying.
Right. The controllers have to physically print out the flight coordinates for one airline, walk across the room, and hand them to the controller managing the other airline.
Wow.
Planes would literally collide in midair while the humans are just trying to translate the data.
That's exactly it. The network is crashing while the tools wait for a human to translate the alerts.
Yeah.
The planes in your analogy are data packets, and the collision is a catastrophic breach.
Wait, I don't buy that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about the IT directors and CISOs listening right now, and I really don't buy that it's that simple.
Okay, why not?
Because if I am the CISO and I have the budget to go out and buy the absolute best-in-class, highly specialized, award-winning firewall from vendor A,
Right.
and then I buy the absolute top-tier, industry-leading antivirus heuristic engine from vendor B, shouldn't my organization objectively be safer?
I see where you're going.
I mean, I have the absolute best specialized experts in the world handling each specific piece of the puzzle. Why on earth would I trade that in for a generic, bundled, unified threat management system?
Yeah.
Aren't I just settling for mediocrity across the board by not using the best individual tools?
So that is the classic best-of-breed argument.
Yeah.
And, it sounds perfectly logical in a boardroom vacuum. You want the best tool for every specific job.
Naturally.
But the reality of the high-speed cyber battlefield completely shatters that logic. Integration beats isolated specialization every single time.
Why, though? If vendor A's firewall is objectively 5% better at catching a specific new malware strain than the firewall included in a bundled UTM, isn't that 5% margin worth it?
Not if it takes your engineering team 3 hours to realize the firewall caught it.
Ah.
Right, because the alert didn't sync with your endpoint detection software.
Uh-huh.
Let's look at the mechanics of maintaining those best-in-class tools.
Okay, let's do it.
When you have 10 specialized platforms, you have 10 different application programming interfaces, or APIs, connecting them.
Right. Custom integrations.
Exactly. And every time vendor A pushes a minor, routine software update to their firewall, it inevitably breaks the custom API connection to vendor B's antivirus dashboard.
Oh, man. Which means the IT team spends half their week just writing custom code to keep the tools talking to each other instead of actually hunting for threats.
You hit the nail on the head. Complexity is the ultimate enemy of a strong security culture.
It really is.
Because isolated tools lead to massive blind spots. You create excessive interfaces that cause profound alert fatigue.
Yeah, people just tune it out.
Human analysts get so overwhelmed by the sheer volume of disparate notifications that they experience cognitive overload and just start ignoring the minor warnings.
And then it leads to a dangerous diffusion of responsibility, right?
Yes, exactly. If the firewall team assumes the endpoint team is handling an anomaly,
Right.
and the endpoint team thinks the network behavior team has it covered, well, nobody takes action. No single system has a complete unified picture of the attack surface.
So going back to my analogies, if the hospital's bleeding out because the departments can't talk and the air traffic controllers are dropping planes because their radars are isolated, the obvious answer is a centralized communication system.
Right.
In the digital world, that's what Stephen A. Davis defines as unified threat management.
Yes.
UTM takes all of those critical mechanisms and bundles them into a single centralized platform.
That's the core of it.
We are talking about the network firewall, the intrusion detection and prevention systems, VPN management, antivirus, web and email filtering, application control, and crucially, real-time reporting.
All in one place.
All of it operating as a single organism.
And see, implementing UTM is not just an IT upgrade. It is a profound, strategic decision by leadership to prioritize architecture over accumulation.
Architecture over accumulation, I like that.
You stop hoarding software and start designing a cohesive system. You choose clarity over chaos and responsibility over reactive control.
Yeah.
When a leader mandates a shift to a UTM environment, they are demanding unified policy control. They are establishing one set of rules that governs the entire digital perimeter, managed from one central location.
Let's talk about the philosophical core of UTM from Davis's work, because he introduces a principle of visibility that I find fascinating.
The visibility principle, yeah.
He writes, what is central is seen, what is seen can be managed, and what is managed can carry responsibility.
That principle is the absolute bedrock of digital sovereignty.
How so?
Well, if your security alerts are scattered across a dozen hidden submenus and isolated tools, they aren't seen. If they aren't seen, you literally cannot manage the risk. And if you can't manage the risk, nobody can be held responsible when the breach inevitably happens.
Everybody just points fingers.
Exactly. The vendor blames the API integration, the internal IT team blames the vendor's update, and the CEO is left holding the bag in front of the shareholders.
Which is a terrible place to be.
UTM forces visibility. It removes the excuses by putting everything in the light. It forces the organization to look in the mirror and take real responsibility for its actual security posture.
That sounds good in theory, but what happens in reality?
What do you mean?
Because migrating an entire global enterprise, with thousands of employees, dozens of regional offices, and decades of entrenched legacy
Oh,
system.
yeah.
Migrating all of that away from their specialized tools into one single unified UTM platform sounds like a logistical nightmare of epic proportions.
It is incredibly tough.
I mean, that sounds like a project that will take 3 years, cost tens of millions of dollars, and grind the actual revenue-generating business to a complete halt.
Yeah, the friction is massive.
You're going to have department heads going to war over this. The VP of marketing loves their specific web analytics and filtering tool and will fight the CISO to the death to keep it. Isn't that just idealism?
I mean, it is an incredibly painful reality, and I will validate that difficulty completely. Migrating to a unified architecture is brutal.
It has to be.
It requires significant planned downtime. It requires retraining your entire IT staff to understand a completely new interface. It requires breaking years of ingrained habits. And yes, it requires fighting severe internal political battles.
So why do it? Why not just patch the holes in the boat you already have?
Because navigating this immense friction is the ultimate crucible of leadership.
The crucible.
Yes. Avoiding that short-term pain, taking the easy road and letting the fragmented security islands persist, is exactly what leaves the organization vulnerable to an extinction-level breach.
Wow. Extinction level.
Truly. A weak leader looks at the logistics of a UTM migration, gets terrified of the internal pushback, and says, let's just keep what we have. It's working fine.
Yeah, don't rock the boat.
But a sovereign leader understands that UTM is an architecture of clarity. Demanding clarity, even when it causes massive operational friction, is the essence of strong leadership.
Because they have to protect the whole enterprise.
Exactly. The sovereign leader absorbs the short-term complaints because they know they are securing the long-term survival of the business.
So they are choosing a controlled, painful surgery now to avoid a fatal heart attack later.
That's a great way to put it.
To truly understand why this unified visibility is so vital, I think we need to look at how modern threats have actually evolved.
Let's do it.
Because we are moving far away from the stereotype of, like, a lone hacker in a dark hoodie trying to crack a firewall password.
Oh, yeah, that's Hollywood.
Right. We are dealing with the industrialized reality of digital deception.
The threat landscape is fundamentally shifted toward web fraud and the exploitation of public-facing assets.
Yeah.
Attackers aren't just trying to break down the back door of your server room anymore. They're walking straight through the front door.
Using the systems exactly how they were built.
Exactly. They are interacting with the very systems you intentionally designed to be public. Your customer login portals, your e-commerce checkout pages, your API endpoints.
Let's break down the mechanics of that. When we talk about web fraud prevention and web application firewalls.
WAF, yeah.
Right, WAF, which is essentially a shield specifically designed to monitor traffic going to and from a web application. What are the attackers actually doing?
Well, they are utilizing synthetic identities, which are, fake personas stitched together from various pieces of stolen data.
Like a Frankenstein identity.
Exactly. They are spoofing legitimate users by mimicking their browser behaviors and IP addresses.
Tricky.
They use automated form manipulation to inject malicious code into your website's search bars or contact forms.
Right.
And they execute click fraud at an industrial scale using massive botnets networks of thousands of compromised computers to overwhelm your systems or drain your advertising budgets.
I want to lay out a highly specific real-world scenario to ground this because I think understanding the how is critical here.
Go for it.
Imagine an e-commerce company. It is 4:00 p.m. on a Friday.
The classic time.
Exactly. Everyone in the office is exhausted, the weekend is looming, and it happens to be the start of their biggest promotional sales event of the year.
Which is the absolute worst time for an attack, meaning it is exactly when a sophisticated adversary will strike.
An industrialized botnet begins a coordinated multi-vector assault. First, it initiates a low and slow credential stuffing attack on the company's customer login portal.
Right. Let's explain what that means.
Yeah, so the botnet has a list of 1 million usernames and passwords stolen from some other website's breach years ago.
Yeah.
It goes to this e-commerce site and starts trying those combinations, but it does it low and slow, meaning it only tries a few passwords a minute from hundreds of different IP addresses.
Right, specifically to avoid triggering the alarms that sound when someone tries 10 wrong passwords in a row.
Exactly. It is attempting to blend in with the massive spike of legitimate human traffic logging in for the big sale.
A needle in a haystack.
But at the exact same time, a different arm of the attacker's botnet is simultaneously executing a sophisticated SQL injection attempt on the payment gateway.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For those unfamiliar, SQL is the programming language used to manage databases. And SQL injection is a technique where the attacker types malicious code into a normal web form, like the credit card entry field,
Right.
hoping the database will get confused and accidentally dump its entire contents, like all the stored customer credit card numbers, back to the attacker.
It is a highly coordinated diversionary tactic.
So let's look at how this plays out in the fragmented environment, those disconnected security islands.
Oh.
Without UTM, what happens to this company?
It results in systemic failure, period.
Walk me through it.
In the fragmented setup, the isolated web application firewall eventually flags the SQL injection on the payment gateway, logging it as a medium priority alert. Meanwhile, a completely separate intrusion detection system sends a passive alert to a different dashboard about unusual distributed traffic patterns hitting the login page.
Which seems disconnected.
Right. Concurrently, an isolated fraud detection tool notices weird behavioral anomalies with the login attempts.
Like what?
Like mouse movements that snap to the login button instantly, revealing they are robotic scripts, not human hands.
But because the tools don't talk to each other, the context is entirely lost.
The overwhelmed IT analyst sitting in the SOC is staring at 3 different monitors.
And it's Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon, they see 3 minor, seemingly unrelated alerts buried underneath thousands of other routine notifications generated by the massive volume of the promotional sale.
Right.
Because they are stressed, tired, and lack a unified picture, the analyst assumes the robotic mouse movements and the traffic spikes are just glitchy behavior from the promotion.
They just clear it.
They clear the alerts, the attack proceeds, and the database is drained.
The tools all worked individually, but the organization failed systemically.
That's exactly.
Now, let's rerun that exact same 4.000 PM scenario, but with a UTM architecture in place. How does the mechanism change?
Okay, so the unified system sees the SQL injection attempt, the traffic anomaly on the login page, and the robotic fraud behaviors simultaneously.
It sees everything.
This is where the correlation engine comes in.
Right, the brain.
Yes, the correlation engine is the brain of the UTM. It applies complex mathematical algorithms to disparate data streams. It instantly connects the dots
How fast?
in milliseconds.
Hmm.
It recognizes that an IP address attempting suspicious logins, while another node on the same known botnet network probes the SQL database, is statistically impossible to be a coincidence.
Wow.
It sees the big picture and realizes this isn't 3 separate minor glitches, it is a coordinated assault.
And because the UTM includes an integrated intrusion prevention system, or IPS, it doesn't just passively alert a tired human.
No, it actively intervenes. The IPS automatically drops the malicious connections and blocks the offending IP addresses in real time. The attack is shut down before the human analyst even has time to click on the notification.
But that assumes people behave rationally, which they don't.
What do you mean?
I mean, that breaks down under pressure, doesn't it? Let's
Yeah.
inject the reality of corporate pressure back into this scenario.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's Friday afternoon. It's the biggest sales weekend of the year. If that unified IPS suddenly auto-blocks a massive block of traffic and its algorithm makes a slight miscalculation.
A false positive.
Exactly. A false positive that accidentally blocks 10,000 legitimate paying customers who were just trying to buy your product,
Oh.
the fallout is going to be catastrophic.
That would be a nightmare.
The chief marketing officer is watching the real-time revenue graph plummet. They call the CEO in a panic.
Naturally.
The CEO screams at the IT director that they are losing $100,000 a minute, and they order IT to turn the entire automated security system off immediately.
Yep.
That's how it actually goes down, right? The system gets bypassed.
You have just outlined the absolute core vulnerability of any security posture,
Yeah.
and you are entirely correct to point it out.
Thank you.
The technology might be architected flawlessly, but the human panic overrides it.
Mm-hmm.
Security fails, not in the software, but in the human override.
Yeah.
The UPM system can be perfect, but if it lacks the organizational clarity and the leadership backbone to support it, it collapses under financial pressure.
How does a leader handle that screaming CEO then? I mean, practically speaking.
This requires a profound analysis of organizational decision-making.
Okay.
If a leader turns off the UTM to save short-term revenue during a false positive panic, They are explicitly communicating to the entire company that security is secondary to immediate profit.
They are setting a precedent.
A terrible precedent. They're teaching their engineers that policies are just suggestions, easily discarded when things get tense. They are trading the long-term survival and reputation of the company for a few hours of Black Friday sales. This is where true web fraud prevention reveals itself as a mindset, not just a technical feature.
The mindset.
The sovereign leader must operate under the principle, I create clarity before others create confusion.
What does creating clarity look like before the crisis hits, though? Like on a random Tuesday in March?
It means that weeks or months before Black Friday ever happens, the leadership team has already had the agonizing conversation about false positives.
They bring it up proactively.
Yes. They have mapped out the worst-case scenarios. They have explicitly agreed, on the record, that they will accept a calculated percentage drop in legitimate traffic rather than turning off the shields and risking a catastrophic data breach.
And the CEO knows what's going to happen.
The CEO doesn't scream to turn the system off because the CEO has already taken responsibility for the risk of the system doing its job.
Wow.
They have pre-decided their response to the crisis. Clarity neutralizes panic.
The system only holds if the leadership holds. That connects perfectly to a memory from a previous deep dive. In Episode 7, we explored a terrifyingly common scenario that illustrates how systems are so easily bypassed when the culture of continuity and memory is weak.
Oh, right, the contractor incident.
Yes. For those who remember, an external contractor was brought in on a Tuesday to do a software update. The organization gave them temporary, high-level administrative access to get the job done quickly.
The literal keys to the digital kingdom.
Right. But because the organization utilized disconnected, overly complex, fragmented security islands, the process of revoking that access was really complicated.
Because it wasn't centralized.
Exactly. They were using a fragmented SIEM, a security information and event management system, which is supposed to log activity.
Yep.
Plus a disconnected network access control system that governs who can connect to the internal network, and an isolated mobile device management system for the contractor's laptop.
3 entirely different interfaces.
Managed by potentially 3 different teams.
What a mess.
So the IT administrator meant to revoke the access, got distracted by another server fire, and completely forgot.
Happens all the time.
6 months later, that dormant contractor credential was compromised by an attacker, and the company suffered a massive breach.
Devastating.
They just walked right through the front door using valid, albeit forgotten, credentials. So how does the philosophy of unified threat management apply to that specific, devastating failure of organizational memory?
It applies directly to the cost of complexity.
Okay.
In a fragmented environment, a forgotten credential hides in the seams between the systems.
The seams.
The identity management software doesn't natively talk to the network access software, so the discrepancy of an active, highly privileged account that hasn't logged in for 6 months goes completely unnoticed.
Nobody sees it because nobody's looking at the whole picture.
But if that organization had a unified architecture, the reality changes entirely.
Because of the visibility principle. What is seen can be managed.
Exactly. The dormant contractor credential would have been highly visible. It would have been auditable on a central dashboard.
Right.
The UTM system's correlation engine would highlight the risk, generating a clear warning. High privilege account inactive for 180 days.
So it flags it automatically?
Yes. Complexity hides human error, but simplicity exposes it.
That's a great point.
By forcing everything into the light, UTM removes the dark corners where administrative mistakes fester. The human error of forgetting to revoke the access is inevitable. People make mistakes.
Of course.
But the systemic architecture must be designed to catch and highlight those mistakes, rather than burying them under layers of fragmented data.
It forces the human error to the surface so it can be corrected.
Exactly.
But, that leads to a really fascinating psychological challenge for decision makers that Davis brings up. It's the illusion of invisible success.
The tragedy of prevention.
Right, because prevention works quietly. When a UTM system functions flawlessly, when it correlates the data, blocks 10,000 automated attacks, and highlights the dormant credential so an admin can safely delete it, there are no sirens, there is no news coverage, there is no ticker tape parade for the IT department.
No one says thank you.
The servers stay on, payroll goes out, and the business just continues exactly as it did yesterday.
Nobody notices a thing.
Which brings us back to the boardroom reality.
Oh boy,
I think you're ignoring something important here.
what's that?
You are asking leaders, CIOs, and CISOs to spend massive amounts of political capital, endure the excruciating operational pain of migrating to a UTM, and fight for massive budget approvals for this quiet prevention.
Yes, I am.
But corporate incentive structures are completely misaligned with this.
Yeah.
Boards of directors reward visible growth. They reward new product features, market expansion, and direct revenue generation.
Right.
They hand out massive bonuses for successful marketing campaigns. They do not give out million-dollar bonuses for the absence of a disaster.
Sure.
How does a leader survive that? How do they justify the massive friction and cost of UTM when the best possible outcome is that literally nothing happens?
This is the ultimate resolution of the leadership question, and it requires a profound recentering on the concept of digital sovereignty.
Digital sovereignty again.
Yes, a sovereign leader must learn to value, fund, and vigorously protect the silence.
Protect the sun.
It is an immense educational burden. They have to change the narrative within the boardroom.
How do they do that?
They must make the board understand that protecting trust, the absolute unwavering trust of their customers, their supply chain partners, and the financial market.
Right.
That trust is the ultimate asset in a digital economy. If you lose trust, you lose the business entirely.
So they aren't selling the absence of a hack, they are selling the guarantee of trust.
Exactly. They're selling the continuity of the business itself.
That reframes it completely.
The sovereign leader recognizes that the quiet, boring, uneventful operation of their digital infrastructure isn't a lack of achievement. It is a monumental, hard-fought victory of architectural planning and cultural discipline.
Yeah.
They must champion the invisible prevention. If a leader only funds security after a breach, when the sirens are blaring and the PR team is frantically drafting apology emails.
Which we see all the time in the news.
Constantly. But they aren't a leader then. They are just a reactive administrator trying to survive the fallout of their own negligence.
Right.
Moving from reactive administration to sovereign leadership means owning the architecture, absorbing the internal friction, and protecting the silence.
The practical consequence for your strategy, for the listener's strategy, is clear. The era of buying isolated tools just to check compliance boxes on an audit form is over.
Absolutely over.
Investing in unified visibility is no longer optional. It requires embracing the painful friction of integration, demanding a system simple enough to expose inevitable human errors, and taking absolute responsibility for the decisions that govern those tools when the pressure is on.
Because the tools will never save you if the organizational culture collapses.
Tomorrow morning, when you open your laptop and look at your own organization's enterprise dashboard, are you looking at a single, unified, visible harbor?
Or are you just staring out at a dozen disconnected security islands, silently hoping that none of them are sinking in the fog?
It's a question every leader needs to ask themselves today.
Security is not a control problem. It's a leadership decision.